Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. I, as always, am Grestar, and this is another reaction to a death battle, Hercules vs. Sun Wukong. As always, the link to the original is in the description below. So we have Hercules from mythology versus Sun Wukong from, well, I thought that it was also mythology, but apparently Journey to the West is just like a story. I mean, myths are stories, but I guess it's not a myth. Like, it's just fiction. Who knew? People did. That's how I know, because people told me. But yeah, so I think this is going to be interesting because now it's a matter of, a mythological character versus a character who seems so fantastic that I assumed they were myth. So I mean, I don't know a ton about either character. They're like, Hercules, super strong, cool. That's like the extent of my feats. Like, most of what I know just comes from Disney's Hercules, which I'm sure is not entirely accurate, you know? Or like there was that mention, oh gosh, in Magneto's, I believe, where like he fought Hercules, who had apparently held up the entire like universe or multiverse or something, right? It was like a whole dimension, wasn't it? And so I guess Hercules can at least do that, so that's pretty powerful. And then Sun Wukong, I really don't know any of his stuff. I mean, what little I know, like, he inspired Kid Goku, at least a little bit, you know? So I know about, like, Nyoibo and Kintoun. If those are both, I'm pretty sure Nyoibo, at least, the pole, is at least a Sun Wukong thing. I don't actually know if the Magic Cloud, Kintoun, is, or if that's strictly a Goku thing. Yeah, Dragon Ball. But, yeah. And then from Gunfire Reborn, a video game, which I think it's really fun to play. There's a character who's based on Sun Wukong, and so he has some different abilities. The main one that comes to mind is, like, he throws a piece of hair, and, like, it becomes a clone of him that attacks, and, like, already one of the things I'm thinking of is, like, how powerful is Sun Wukong? Like, I need to nail that down, because then he can clone himself, and so if you have multiple powerhouses, that's a thing. But I really know so little about these two. There's not much else to talk about here. So with that, let's get to watching. So here we go for the death battle proper. Hercules versus Sun Wukong.
Hercules, the god of strength.
Sun Wukong, the Monkey King.
Myth
The
has
Monkey King,
many
that's
heroes,
right.
but few overcome their past to become legendary.
Right.
Maybe inspire some comics and anime to boot.
Yeah.
He's wears an iron boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death
Let's
battle.
do it. Let's see these two fight. After we learn about
He's
them.
the man, the myth, the legend. He's Hercules.
Stories of Hercules exist in many iterations, but we'll examine the earliest known accounts, the legend of Heracles.
Okay.
No Disney Zero to Hero, just the classic Greek myth.
That's
and
fair.
Like most ancient Greek stories, it began with Zeus being a total creep.
The god of thunder did
Yeah,
his
he does that a
thing
lot.
with a princess by disguising himself as her husband.
Oh, what
Oh,
the hell, man?
rude.
Thus, a demigod was born, who was named Alcaeus.
Oh.
But Hera was pretty pissed Zeus had cheated on her yet again, so Alcaeus' human parents renamed him in her honor. Yep,
Oh.
Heracles means glory to
Oh.
Hera. Too bad
I didn't
she
know
had
that.
already made up her mind though, and that kid was gonna pay.
The child would need some way to survive Hera's wrath, so the goddess of heroes carried out a plan that was, frankly, insane. Athena tricked Hera into nursing the baby Heracles,
Oh.
and her milk gave him supernatural strength unbound.
Good for
even
him.
beyond many of the gods themselves.
So strong that he hurt her and caused her to spray milk all over the place like a boob sprinkler, which in turn created the galaxy.
What?
Yep, that's why we call it the Milky Way.
Really?
Oh god, I'm never eating one of those candy bars again.
With his
That is a
godlike
thing,
power,
wow.
Heracles became a fierce warrior trained by the finest instructors in all of Greece. Unfortunately, he wasn't without problems. While he was a natural at boxing, wrestling, fencing, and so much more, he
With his
struggled
unbound
in
strength.
the arts.
Imagine
He
that.
even had a fit and accidentally killed his music teacher.
Little
No!
did Heracles know this was a sign of the tragedy to come.
Oh.
Many years later, as his name began to be synonymous with the term hero, he murdered his wife, Princess Megara, and their sons.
Oh, that's
Hera had
unfortunate.
magically driven him into a kill frenzy rage, but that didn't excuse it for Herc. His guilt was there.
Desperate to atone, he sought guidance from the Oracle of Delphi and learned his path to redemption. He would submit himself to King Eurystheus and perform for him 10 grueling labors.
The
Okay.
guy was a D-bag, but Herc did what he had to, and through his struggles, built a killer arsenal.
For his first labor, he was tasked with slaying a lion whose hide could not be pierced by any blade.
So Herc just
But
beat the
I
lion
was gonna
to
say,
death
yeah,
with his
like, if-
bare hands, and took the pelt as armor
That
for
shouldn't be
himself.
hard for a
Defeated
demigod
flock of
who has
metal
unbound
man-eating
strength.
birds with cortalas so loud no living thing could bear the noise. He battled a multi-headed hydra, cauterizing its necks after each decapitation so the heads would not grow back.
A
Smart.
lot of sliced off heads meant a lot of blood spilled, and Hydra blood is extra poisonous. Even gods fear it, so Herc dipped his arrows in the stuff for later use, like when he used them to take out centaurs, titans, and even the sun.
He
Sort
killed the
of.
sun,
The details
okay.
of the Smith differ, but in some versions, Heracles was so fed up with the desert heat, he fired an arrow at the sun, the physical embodiment of the god Helios.
I guess that's one way to cool off. Take that,
He just
global
doomed
warming.
everyone.
To reach the sun, his arrow would have to fly 90 times faster than light. The maximum draw weight of a typical recurve bow is about 40 pounds, shooting an arrow 300 feet per second.
Okay.
Shooting one faster than light would require strength incomprehensible to mortals such as us.
Anyway, Herc completed his labors, but the king was a sore loser and axed 2 of them for cheating, because Herc was a lot more clever than he expected.
Heracles received 2 more tasks, one of which required he retrieve the golden apples of Hesperides, which ironically originally belonged to Hera.
Okay.
As part of his plan, Heracles would temporarily take on the role of the Titan Atlas as bearer of the
Ah,
heavens.
I see, yeah.
Sounds exhausting.
More than you think, dummy. While modern art often portrays Atlas carrying a globe, the Greeks perceived his burden as a celestial sphere. This would mean Heracles supported the weight of not just the Earth, but the whole universe.
Like, I'm holding up this entire show.
Yeah.
The common view of the time
Good work,
was that
dummy.
the universe was endless. Even chaos, the primordial origin of everything, was boundless. Meaning, Heracles held up the weight of conceptual infinity.
Luckily, Herc's got one hell of a drive
How
to
does that
persevere
work?
and to make amends. Like when he met King Admetus, he got to party it up and was too drunk to realize the king was in a really bad state because his wife had just died.
Rip.
Reminds me of someone.
Can't imagine who. Well, Herc felt bad, so he decided to make it up to his bro by literally beating up the god of death until he returned Admetus'
Oh.
wife. And that's true best friend material.
Yeah, look at that.
Riz.
Heracles frequently surprised others with his wit, particularly with finding solutions hidden in plain sight. For example, when he wrestled Antaeus, a giant who was invincible so long as his feet were on the ground, Heracles simply picked him up and strangled him in the air.
That makes
Giants
sense.
And the god of death couldn't end his story. Instead, he was tricked into putting on a shirt covered in that Hydra blood, and it totally screwed him up.
Oh, no.
BS, way to go.
Yet also a testament to how a contest of power could not defeat him. Racked with unbearable pain and burning at a pyre, Heracles called to the deities who had watched his story unfold. And so, as his mortal form returned to ash, Heracles ascended to Mount Olympus.
Interesting.
Where he was welcomed as the god of strength. Even Hera liked
Good
him.
for
His
him.
life may have been one of strife and struggle, but on that day, all the world was left in awe of the legend of Heracles.
I mean, yeah, that's all incredibly impressive. For sure. Holding up the weight of infinity.
There once was
Nice.
a mighty monkey warrior, born of a mystic stone from the energy of the sun and moon. Upon birth, he graciously bowed to the cardinal directions and...
Shot lasers from his eyes. Strap in, folks. This
Okay.
one's a doozy.
This
Why?
monkey soon befriended a band of other primates, and rather narcissistically named himself their handsome monkey king.
But after a few centuries of monkeying about, he got a taste of the dreaded midlife crisis.
No!
The Monkey King was fierce and brave, yet he feared death. So he ventured to new lands in search of immortality.
Oh.
Turns out he'd find a lot of it.
Training under the Taoist master Puti, he earned his first method of immortality and a new name. He would be the Monkey Awakened to the Void.
I see.
Spoken as Sun Wukong.
Oh, okay.
So learned
Cool.
a bunch of magic. He can ride clouds, make thousands of clones, heal from fatal wounds like decapitation, and transform into basically anything. A bird, some vapor, a pitchfork, even an incredible fighting temple.
With his famous cloud somersault, he
okay.
could traverse the world at incredibly high speed. At first, a single somersault could carry him 108,000 li, li being a traditional Chinese unit equal to about 500 meters.
Okay.
Making one somersault move 54,000 kilometers per second.
Uh-huh.
Fast enough to circle the entire Earth in one leap.
And he'd
Wow.
only get faster from
Okay.
there. Monkey would do whatever it took to prove he was the best of the best.
When fighting the mighty deity Prince Nocha, his foe transformed into a more powerful visage with 3 heads and 6 arms.
But Sun was like, hey, I can do that too, and then did just that.
Sun Wukong eventually returned to his simian subjects, and with his newfound power, amassed a veritable army. However, he felt no weapon in their arsenal suited him.
So he barged into the Dragon King's palace and demanded he hand over a weapon worthy
As
of a
you
king
do.
who could match the power of heaven. Yeah, Sun was pretty full of himself.
It seems
but
like
he
it.
wound up taking a pillar originally designed to measure the depths of the ocean.
What seemed like a worthless rod to the Dragon King was actually the perfect weapon for Wukong. Weighing nearly 8 tons, the Rui Jingu Bang can change size at his whim. It can shrink to the size of a needle or grow long enough to pierce the heavens.
The same
I didn't know it
heavens
could
that
change,
got
like,
Brady
thickness,
mad with
though.
Sun after he crossed his name out of the Ledger of Death, making himself double immortal.
Really?
Wait, how does that work?
And even more mad when he demanded to be formally acknowledged as the great sage equal to heaven.
Okay, we've got a headstrong goofball who quickly masters new powers and wants a fancy title. This is just shown in anime.
Now, the Monkey King may have lashed out, but it was because when he requested a place in heaven, a place he truly believed he deserved, the Jade Emperor's court reduced him to a stable boy.
Beneath all his antics, what Sun wanted most was to prove himself.
Even with all the shenanigans, the Jade Emperor remained cautious and willing to placate Wukong.
By making him the watchdog of the Garden of Immortal Peaches. He totally ate that shit, didn't he, Wiz?
Oh yeah, Wukong got hammered, ate most of the peaches, ran around the Jade Palace in a fit, and found 5 gourds of immortality pills, which he promptly swallowed.
Huh.
All of them.
Okay, so that makes how many layers of immortality now?
I'd say a few 100,000?
Okay.
If you count each individual peach and pill. When he sobered up, he knew he was in serious trouble. So, naturally, he prepared for war.
Wow, that escalated quickly. What are they gonna do? Kill him? So the Monkey King proved too strong for heaven. He battled all their best fighters and even matched Erlong Shen blow for blow in an epic battle of transformation.
Sorry, who's that again?
That guy with the third eye.
And
Oh, thank
heaven's
you.
greatest holy warrior. Yet no matter Erlong's form, Wukong always had a counter. Until Lao Zi threw in a convenient plot MacGuffin that captured the monkey. But even with
No.
Wukong in chains, heaven had a problem.
He just wouldn't die. Lightning, fire, even Lao Zi's de-immortalizing furnace just made the monkey stronger.
Now,
How?
Wukong is not invincible. He has been hurt by the scorpion demoness's poison, which could even harm the Buddha, an awakened divine being liberated from the cycle of life and death entirely.
I see.
Now tell me, how painful is that?
Pain is all in the mind, and I am absent of mind. Oh, God. Oh, no, I was wrong. It's bad. It's really, really, really bad. Oh, God, make it stop.
I'm sorry, I can't do anything.
But even after all that, Sun had one more challenger to contend with. The Buddha himself.
Buddha approached Wukong with a contest. Leap out of his hand, and he could have the Jade Emperor's throne for himself.
Having no impulse control, the monkey agreed, and in an instant somersaulted to the very edge of heaven.
But he had already lost. Because Buddha achieved nirvana, he transcended the world, literally holding all of existence. So even at the edge of the universe, Wukong technically never left his hand.
For his rebellion,
see.
Sun was put in timeout, sealed under a mountain for 500 years.
But even son Wukong would find a chance at redemption. In his case, he was tasked with escorting and protecting a monk, Tansong Zong, or Tripitaka, on a journey to the west.
With additional companions,
We're only just now
Pansy
getting
and
to
Caesar
Journey to the West?
was a tough one, and Monkey abandoned it more than once. But through it all, he always returned to shine as the group's powerhouse, saving Tripitaka's life many, many times. Seriously, this guy could not stay out of trouble. It's like Wiz at a blind date.
Wukong has cracked apart mountains, slayed hundreds of monsters, and survived the yellow wind demon storm that could destroy the universe, as in heaven, earth, the 18 layers of hell, and more.
That's cool and all, Wiz, but let's answer the real question. Can he beat Goku?
Yes.
Maybe. During his journey, Wukong performed possibly his most legendary feat, holding up Mount Sumeru, which, in traditional Mahayana Buddhism, is a mountain supporting the infinite cosmic sky.
And
Oh.
Sun just hauled it around on one shoulder. Just one. 'Cause on
That's
his
what
other
I was
shoulder
waiting
was a
for.
whole other mountain.
Something
After
that could
14
match
years of
Hercules'
travel, the journey
infinity
was
holding
complete,
feat.
And Wukong had finally accomplished a truly great deed, For this, he was given his long-awaited place among the heavens.
As the victorious fighting Buddha! Now that's gotta be an anime.
After so much time as a rebel, an outcast, and a truly unstoppable warrior, Sun Wukong had, at last, found his home.
Okay, cool. Oh, thank goodness for that feat.
All right, the combatants are
Because
set. and
I
run
had
the
so many
table with all
things going, but
possibilities.
it's time for a death battle! And pause, my mouse was not ready. So I think Sun Wukong's going to win, here's why. So the big thing I was waiting for was, yes, that feat of strength. Because, you know, I saw, like, I read some things where it's like, oh, he held back a hurricane that produced waves of blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's impressive, but that's not holding up infinity. But then we finally held up the mountain, like, effortlessly, that held, like, the infinity of the cosmic whatever. And it was a specific infinity, but when you're comparing infinities, it's infinity either way. And so it's kind of like that thing of, you know, what's heavier, a ton of feathers or a ton of bricks? It's the same, because they're a ton. And now if you're going into, like, molecular weight, or there was something, then yes, there is an answer. But if you're not being like that person, then it's the same. It's a ton and a ton. And so you have eternity and eternity, even if they're eternities of different things. Or infinities, sorry. Infinity, even if infinities of different things. So at the very least, equal in terms of strength, right? Cool, okay. So we also have Sun Wukong with all of his different kind of immortalities. He's not invincible, he can be injured, and so the Hydra poison kind of thing, like if we're going to say that even though there's not a Hydra around, that Hercules or Hercules, whatever, still has like Hydra-tipped arrows, or Hydra blood poison-tipped arrows, that's fine. He could still be hurt, but I don't think that it will kill him, you know? Like, not to mention that he could technically also use it against Hercules. Like, it could happen. People have used their opponent's weapons against them in the past in death battle. It's certainly a possibility. In terms of speed, I think that Sun Wukong is faster, because we do have Hercules fighting Helios, I believe it was, like the embodiment of light, and so then Hercules is moving at light speeds. But I believe that Sun Wukong was also doing that, considering like one leap could take him all around Earth, or like to the edge of heaven in an instant, it said. Because it wasn't just one leap could take him there, it specified in an instant. I don't know how big heaven is, or how far that distance is, but I'm going to trust that, you know, it's worthy of like light speed movement kinds of analysis. So that's what I'm going with. And then, like, here's one of the big things. Remember at the beginning I mentioned, like, he take his hair and clone himself with it. Well, they mentioned at the beginning, very briefly, but they mentioned it, that he could clone himself, like, make thousands of himself. And so if we have people of, like, infinite strength, but it's one versus thousands, then I think that Sun Wukong just has the advantage in that case, you know? Like, that's what I was really hoping for, because I knew about the cloning thing, and so I'm like, okay, but if Hercules can do, like, hold up infinity, and Sun Wukong doesn't have anything to match that, then, like, even if you have 1,000 of them, what are they gonna do? But, since they have that matching kind of feat, infinity and infinity, then Sun Wukong, thousands versus one, doesn't that just kind of, like, you know, put the nail in the coffin? I feel like it does, you know, and then there are other things you could look at, just as far as like, you know, experience and, you know, fighting styles. Like, I don't know who wins in those cases. Like, I know, like, it seems, I say I know, it seems that Sun Wukong is a lot older. He didn't really start getting fighting experience for centuries, as far as I recall, but I have no idea when Hercules did any of that stuff. Like, he's a demigod. But does that mean that, like, he achieved all of that by age 40, you know? Or does that mean that, like, yeah, over the course of millennia, he did stuff? I don't know. But I think that just with, you know, the immortality, the speed, the cloning, all on Sun Wukong's side. And then, you know, he has this cool, like, Nyoibo, the power pole, right, that can change size. And his, you know, again, just the seemingly matching, at the very least, strength, even though I'm pretty sure they said Sun Wukong did it, like, effortlessly over one shoulder, and I'm pretty sure that Hercules was struggling when he was holding up infinity. And so that's still impressive, obviously, but if you're comparing the two feats, I just think that Sun Wukong has more going for him. So Sun Wukong is going to win this one, and play. What do you got for me, Death Battle?
Our tale begins atop a great mountain where the mighty Hercules sought a gift from the gods.
I see. Go on.
There. Huh? I'm in need of that apple. Relinquish it.
Sorry, I'm supposed to find my master some vegetarian food.
You'll find it elsewhere.
But Hercules was not so easily fooled.
All right.
Strike rang true, but he'd not so easily overwhelm the god of strength.
Of course not. The art style is really cool with like all the ink going around.
I'm Hercules!
Look at him riding the cloud. I forgot about his transformations.
Die,
That's
demon!
fun. Yeah, it kind of rude to call him a demon. You okay, son?
The Monkey King fell into a strange forest, in awe at such a wondrous fight. But should he mistake his fear, he might lose his head.
Which he's come back from before.
Woo! I haven't had such fun since I fought all of heaven. Change! Behold me, the immortal Monkey King!
Multiple heads. Of course.
Watch this!
Nice.
You've had your fun, beast, but I've had enough!
What? Oh, he fell off. Or jumped off.
In heavens above, the gods witnessed their earthbound selves, and so joined in battle. The god of strength mustered the heart of Olympus, while the great sage harnessed power equal to heaven. Thus, the Monkey King emerged victorious!
Yay!
Wow, would you look at that? I struck him so hard he was reduced to nothingness.
With a formidable foe
Still got his
slain,
apple.
stricken against the mountain's breast. So ends our great tale of East and West.
That was cool. Yay!
Talk about a Herculean matchup!
Heracles was among the greatest heroes in myth, but the great sage equal to heaven held many more advantages.
You'd think
Let's
Sun
hear
might
'em.
not measure up to the god of strength, strength, but he totally
That's
could.
fair.
Remember, he carried Sumeru on his back, the mountain holding up the infinite celestial sky. Like
Right.
how Heracles held up the infinite celestial sphere.
As
Right.
befitting heroes of myth, they were on par in that they were both incomprehensibly strong. However,
Yes.
Wukong's healing abilities meant he could bounce back from Heracles' deadliest blows, whereas Heracles did not have a similar option.
But Heracles did have one way of putting the Monkey King down. His arrows dipped in Hydra poison.
The Hydra poison threatened even the gods of Olympus, similar to the scorpion sting. Whether or not it would be fatal is questionable, but it could have incapacitated Wukong, similar to how it affected Heracles himself.
But that is one very specific win condition, and we're
Yeah.
looking at this with every possible option in mind.
Right,
With
of course, because Death
variety
Battle.
of
Yeah.
clones, transformations, and numerous other spells, Wukong's arsenal was far more versatile.
Like, there was nothing stopping him from making thousands of clones of himself and just sitting back while they beat up Herc for him.
Yeah.
Like, sure. In character? Absolutely.
Even then, those arrows would have to actually strike Wukong, which would be extremely difficult. Yes, in some depictions, Hercules could potentially shoot the son of Helios, his arrows flying 90 times the speed of light. However, in his contest with the Buddha, Wukong leapt to the edge of the universe in a single second. To do so, he had to be moving over 1.4 quintillion times faster than light.
Pretty fast, not gonna lie.
Faster than Herc could ever hope to be.
Heracles held might of mythic proportions, but barring a lucky shot, Sun Wukong's versatile magic, similar strength, and absolutely absurd speed overcame this foe. Fitting for heaven's equal.
When fighting Sun Wukong, Heracles missed his chance.
Nice.
The winner is the Monkey King. Sun
Claps for the
Wukong.
Monkey King, Sun Wukong. Yay.
Thanks for
That was
watching.
good,
Stay
that was
tuned to
really
see
good.
Who comes next, and if you can't wait, consider clicking that join button below to become a Death
You
Battle
can do
member.
that if you
You'll
want
get
to.
exclusive badges, emotes, live
Anyway.
chats, live streams, and way more.
Next time on Death Battle, we have... oh no. Is it not? Okay, it is Boba Fett. I was like, I know it's a Mandalorian. Couldn't tell what one. Boba Fett versus Predator. Okay, cool. I know a couple things about Boba Fett, and I know like one thing about Predator. Two. Okay, like invisibility, and if it bleeds, you can kill it. That's Predator, right? Those are the two things that I know about it. And at some point, it fights aliens, I guess. I've never seen the movie or anything, so I'm very limited in my knowledge on that. So let's stop talking about that, and let's talk about this death battle. So I was right, yay me. And yeah, I feel good about my prediction as far as why I was right, so pats on my back. Yeah, just the strength, the cloning, because I thought that too, like, you clone yourself and then you just go hide and then all the clones do the fighting, and, I mean, one thing I wonder about is, does it have to be, like, the original that does the cloning, or could clones do the cloning? You know? Because, like, could you clone 2, and then they clone 2, and then they clone 2, or whatever? I mean, not that you would need to, but just, like, point is, does the original have to be the one that survives, or as long as there's a clone, is it, like, the same? You know, as Sun Wukong. Some things that I had questions about that I still really don't have answers to is, like, you know, when Sun Wukong fought all of heaven, I don't know how that compared to, like, you know, Hercules fighting his Olympian gods, you know? Like, because I don't know how their strengths compare. So I couldn't think too much about that. I just had to think about the other feats that were a little more obvious as far as, like, you know, like infinity and infinity, which is a weird thing to say as far as, like, oh, it's obvious, right? But, yeah, just those kinds. They were more objective, I should say, because yeah, the strength of heaven, that absolutely depends on, you know, like what like canon you're looking at. So I didn't know, and I still don't know in Sun Wukong's case, but it just didn't really matter in the end. I did, honestly, during his prediction, I forgot about the transformation. I knew that he could do other stuff. I just couldn't remember really what that stuff was. I just also didn't think it was necessary, and I still don't think it was necessary after, you know, the conclusion. So very satisfied with my win here, and you know, my prediction in general. So yay. As for this death battle, I thought it was really good. Like let's just talk about the fight. The animation, yeah, the animation was awesome. Like not only did it look good and like it flowed really well, but the entire thing had such wonderful presentation. Like, you know, we're talking about wanting a kind of story, like a kind of through line or whatever in your the death battles, the fights, right? This had it. Like the fact that it was all done, like it had that narrator going, it had the, you know, the scrolls, the parchment. I liked, you know, like not everything obviously was like illustrated in that style. Like you still had the 2D sprite work, you know, of Sun Wukong and Hercules. But, you know, like, the ink effects, like, when they swung their sword or the pole, like, that was really cool. Just a lot of stuff going, like, Sun Wukong being shot up and, like, bashing it to the top of the scroll. I'm pretty sure that happened, like, the roll of it. That was really fun. So, yeah, it was really good. I liked the pacing of it. I liked the voice acting in it. The blows seemed to land for me. Just a really good death battle. And, you know, the analyses portions that came before it, I thought that those were fun. You know, they were educational. I thought that this was one of those cases where they gave information that was necessary without hiding stuff and without making it necessarily an obvious outcome. I mean, the closest I would say they came to like hiding anything was just their very brief mention of the cloning, but so like maybe if I hadn't known about the cloning from Gunfire Reborn, then I wouldn't have been able to retain that information here. I don't know, like I don't live in that reality where that was the case. But even though it was briefly mentioned, I was able to retain that information, at least because, if for no other reason than Gunfire Reborn and my prior knowledge of it. But that was the closest thing I'd say they came to like hiding anything, because nothing was like, I mean, they also didn't say like, oh, well, when he leapt from Buddha's hand to the edge of the universe in an instant, or I guess a second, it was what they said in the conclusion. You know, they didn't tell us that it was 14 quadrillion times the speed of light or whatever it ended up being. You did have to just kind of figure that out yourself, but fair, you know, I think that's fair. And so I appreciated just the overall straightforward nature. And then the conclusion, of course, wrapping things, analysis, dummy, that was great. And like essentially the pepper spray, the poison on Boomstick, and the zen-ness, but the pain, it was funny. Conclusion, good. You know, cleared up some things. I always appreciate them, you know, going over, you know, why this trumps this, or, you know, how this was close, but you know, so I appreciated that. And yeah, so those are my thoughts on this death battle. Let me know what you all thought about this death battle in the comments below, whether you liked it, whether you disliked it, what you thought about this or that, etc., so on and so forth. Then next time we will be watching Boba Fett versus Predator, so I hope you're looking forward to that. But yes, with that, we're calling it here, so have a good one, everybody.